Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started. Today I'm here at Earrings Off interviewing my friend and co-host, Lou.
Can we tell them why you're interviewing me? That your assignment was to get somebody to interview.
Oh, there you go.
This
you
is
what
what
you don't have to embarrass me.
This is, and so
there you go.
This was her turn to come up with someone to interview. And alas, this is what you folks end up with.
I had envisioned this being so serious.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, I can't without telling the true story. We said we were going to be honest on this podcast, so
Good
there
morning,
you have
Lou.
it. Good morning, Teresa.
How are you, other than mad at me?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here.
So let's get started.
Yes, let's.
So here at Earrings Off, you guys know that Lou and I love to exercise. So today...
I just love the right word.
Yes,
no, love is not the right word.
I love to exercise.
You love to exercise. I like it. I like it.
Come on now.
You
Don't
love
make
it.
me tell a story.
No. You love it. I like it, though.
Okay,
It's good for me.
Okay. So today we're going to delve into one form of exercise that Lou and I both enjoy. And that form is yoga. So, Lou, to you, what is yoga?
Well, for me, yoga is more about stretching. And because I had to wrap my brain around that, because at first it was a little intimidating. And then I had to think, it's just stretching. It's just me trying to maintain flexibility. So it's a practice that allows me to slowly stretch my body.
Okay, so can you unpack that phrase that you used about getting your brain wrapped around it? Can you unpack that a little bit? What do you mean by that?
Well, because I'd taken some yoga classes, a yoga class before, and because I had expectations about what yoga was, and that there were certain things I had to be able to do. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's all about you and what you
mean.
And
so, but for me, if you talk about unpacking what that means to me, stretching, it just means being in tune with my body on that day, what it's capable of doing.
Right, and I will tell you guys, Lou has a wonderful yoga practice. In my opinion, I'm quite envious, but she has a really great yoga practice. Can you talked a little bit about how when you first went to yoga? So tell us about how you got started. Some more detail. Why did you start yoga?
Well, I had a friend that told me about yoga and how it's just good for you in terms of making you calm down. The breathing exercises are good. And yoga really it's a form of meditation. It's forcing you to be quiet. And so when she talked to me about that and talked about how it made her feel, I did a little research because that's what I do. I told you I read everything. And so I started reading about Bikram yoga, and which is what she talked to me about. And I read about it. I actually bought a couple of books, and then I went to a class. And so it wasn't like she thought she told me at all. That was very, very hard for me.
Well, tell people what Bikram yoga is.
Well, Bikram yoga is a type of yoga that you do the same 26 postures every class. The room is heated to, I think it's like 105 degrees, and it's for 90 minutes. And when I went the first time, I didn't think I was going to make it, because I was just, it was intimidating because it was hot. And the class was long, and the poses, when I looked at other people, it's like my body's never going to do that.
Right.
And so it was intimidating for me. And I stayed on my mat. Well, actually, I'm trying to remember. I might have. They tell you, please stay in the class. And I stayed in the class, but it was very hard. I was on my mat a good part of that time.
Right. They tell you to stay in the class and to be sure to come the next day. Now, did you do that when you did it the first time? Did you
I'm
go?
sure I didn't go back probably for about a week or more because that was just it
It
was a
was
lot.
brutal.
I didn't
Yeah,
go back. No,
yeah.
definitely not the next day. Probably not for another week or more, maybe 2 weeks.
Right.
But I would go sporadically
Mm-hmm.
and I would have the same experience where it was very hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think, I didn't feel well afterward. After the class, I felt shaky because it was just a lot for me to do 90 minutes in that heat and to try to do the poses. But I kept reading about it and hearing about how good it was for me. And when I went to my doctor for my annual, I told her I was doing Bikram, and she said, "That's what you need to be doing with high
Right.
blood pressure. This
Mm-hmm.
is good for you. You do it." And when she said that, I was like, okay, I gotta go back to that class. So I tried again, and it, still was hard for me. Then one morning, I went to class, and the lady behind the receptionist desk, because at that time I was just doing like paying for a class here or maybe 10 classes there, and I just would go whenever. And then she said to me, she said, "So you just come sometimes?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you're never going to get it that way." She said, "You have to commit to Bikram." She says, "But the way you do it, dropping in and out, you're never going to get it." It
Right.
was something, her words were like, "This is never going to do what you want it to do if you just drop in sporadically. And it's always going to be hard for you." So that day I signed up
Right.
for my first,
Mm-hmm.
to go on my first payment plan with them. And when I did that, I just said to myself, okay, you're spending this. I've never been one of those people that pays for a
Right.
gym membership and don't go,
Mm.
because I know the data shows that's what they're hoping for. Not
Mm.
hoping for, but that's how people sometimes make their money. They say we have all these members and they know X number of members aren't going to come. So there you go.
Right.
But I was never one of those. I
Yeah.
always got my money's worth.
So you've mentioned so far a couple of things that I want to touch on. Lowering blood pressure. These are the benefits of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Breathing,
Right.
calming,
Right.
meditative.
Right.
What other things?
Well, I'm gonna tell you the big one for me, particularly as I age, is maintaining my flexibility and mobility,
Yeah.
and my balance. And that is not to be discounted. I'm at the age when you go to the doctor, they want to know, did you fall? I mean, they start asking you questions like that.
They ask you.
Yeah,
That?
they do. They want to know,
But
have
we're
you
not at
fallen?
that
Well,
age.
but I'm telling you, I think when you get over 50, 55, they do start asking you that. And so and the reason they ask that is because that can be very traumatic.
Oh
A
yeah.
fall as you age. And so Bikram for me allowed me to maintain my flexibility and mobility, and that to me was the main thing. The chances are good with Bikram that if I miss a step, I won't completely fall and injure myself or break something. And even if I do fall, my bones are stronger, so hopefully I won't break something. But I saw how my body started moving differently myself.
Right.
And once I noticed it myself, that I could walk easier, I could ascend steps and without joint pain, I thought that's got to be the
Right.
Bikram. So what I did, because it was still intimidating, I started looking on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I started going on various social media pages with yoga because I would really psych myself up to go into class. I never went to a class without looking on these sites to see other people are doing yoga.
Right.
It's not killing them. They're talking about the benefit. So you go in there today.
Right.
And that's what I would do to make myself go.
Right. So that was one of my questions. What motivates you to continue?
Well, the same
all
thing.
Of those things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
right.
really
All
does.
Of those things.
Because, and I get frustrated because, I haven't seen the weight loss and I don't want to make it sound like I can do all those poses. I can't. But that's not what yoga is about. It's not about, okay, you comparing yourself or thinking that you have to be perfect. It's doing what your body will do and doing your best to try to get it to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And yoga to me transcends what goes on in that room. I know that I'm calmer when I do yoga, that I don't react to things
Mm-hmm.
like other people sometimes, or maybe I used to react to things. I'm not as impatient as I used to be. I
Right.
process things more. It's like I go through life like, okay, I'm calmer because yoga has allowed
So
me
that
to
is real.
adapt to that. Yeah,
That that is
it's
that is
very real.
absolutely real, and that, you read about it, but it I can attest to that. That's real.
Yeah,
It's real.
yeah. And the breathing exercises, it that transcends yoga because I'm able when things happen to just think. Like even if I injure myself, or I had a recent last year, I think I injured my hip. I'd have overextended it
Yeah, I
from
remember
working
that.
out,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to just endure that pain a bit easier without medication,
Right.
without anything, because I just said, Lou, breathe through it. Just
Right.
breathe. And so that's what I did
Mm-hmm.
until my body could heal itself naturally and get itself back to where it needed to be without anything else.
Right.
And that breathing was critical to me making it.
I love to hear that.
It's true.
That's
It's
some
true. And this is
amazing stuff.
so what helped me was reading about it,
Right.
hearing other stories, but I know what it did for me specifically. I'm not talking about what I don't know. I know what it did for me.
Right. So, we've talked about the two of us getting together and working out together.
They're good people. I
Yeah.
enjoy
Yeah.
the folks that I've met and people who encourage you to not be so hard on yourself and who say, you know what, that was a nice pose you did, or good job with continuing to come, that kind of thing.
So this next question I want to ask you, we're both Christians. And what do you say to those people who say that it is not okay for Christians to practice yoga?
Yeah, that really sort of blows my mind. It
Well,
does
yeah,
because to me that it yoga, there is no religious connotation with it, with me in practice.
mm-hmm.
That's not something other than for me personally. I shouldn't say there's no religious connotation because I do find myself during different, particularly during before class, just being very thankful
Right.
that I have the ability to pay,
Yeah.
to be in the class,
Yeah.
to have the access. But beyond that, there is no mind control or anything else which makes me believe that this is something bad for me spiritually.
So for me, because I have learned a lot from you, and going to Bikram is one of those things, right? So one thing I got from you that I do, and it's been a long time since I've done yoga, but when I approach the mat, I actually say a prayer.
I do too.
And
exactly.
I pray to God.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. I have a mantra that I say when I start.
Yeah, I got that.
And my first one was, Lord, just get me through it, please. But no, I've evolved since then. I actually have one. So no, that's what I mean by, to me, it doesn't take away from my spirituality or being a Christian.
Yeah.
If anything, it bolsters that.
Exactly.
It encourages
and that's
that.
what I want folks to hear, because it's so beneficial.
But I have to believe that with many things in life, we hear that there are good people in all races and good people. There are good Republicans, good Democrats, good people. There are good things in everything if you look hard enough to find it.
You can find the good in it.
And I believe with yoga that if you let the fact that, oh, well, that's not something that I should be doing because I'm a Christian, there are some serious health benefits. And we are to be good stewards of our temple, of our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that piece is me doing yoga and trying to take care of myself.
Amen,
so
sister.
that I don't think about that.
Yeah.
And you can always find something when you don't want to do something that's hard.
Yeah.
And I think of yoga when I don't want to go. I said, well, you don't have a problem popping that high blood pressure pill in your mouth every day like it's nothing. That's toxic. So if you can take that medicine every day, you ought to be able to go and take something naturally to force your body to heal and to maintain health. And that's how I think about it. It's like, go take your medicine.
You are dropping some knowledge on us today, and I appreciate it.
That's what I think. Because, we have become so conditioned in society. That's why when I discuss high blood pressure, I don't ever want to say that like that's normal. And people, we've taken that, particularly in our community, in the African American community, as if it's normal. Yeah. And that is not normal. Right. That is abnormal. That is a disease. That's an illness. And so, as a result of that, we need to be doing whatever we can to try to combat illness. Right. And this is part of my regimen.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I want to end with you sharing some of your resources. You mentioned about reading. You mentioned about going on websites. So what are some of those websites and just a couple of books that you would recommend to people who are interested in getting started?
For certainly big resources, just the studio that I go to, because if I ever have questions, I can ask them. But beyond that, I've read books on Bikram yoga, and Bikram's gotten a bad rap, of course, because of its founder. But again, that is the founder. To me, that does not negate the benefits of the actual practice. Right. And so you have to, and as women, believe me, I'm very sensitive to that. Yes. But that does not stop me from trying to seek the benefits of that particular practice. And again, that's just one piece of my exercise, protocol, but it's a very big piece. But I read books on Bikram yoga. I go online. There is Instagram site that I love, and it's called Yoga Every Damn Day. Yeah. And I love it because the people share their stories about not just Bikram yoga, their form of yoga and what it's doing, and they for their lives and for their bodies and their health, and they show different poses, and that always encourages me. When I first started and I was having a problem doing those poses, I would look at YouTube, and they have teacher classes where the yoga teachers, their certification, they have like a graduation where they go through all 26 poses. And so I would look at those to encourage myself, and to also just to look at what they were doing to see, okay, this is what I'm doing wrong, and this is what I need to work on. And, Teresa, you and I would do the yoga challenges, and that was something I didn't want to do, where you do yoga 4 times a week. I didn't want to do it, but I forced myself to do that because then I felt like my body would benefit more from consistent practice. Yeah. So just there now with the internet, you can look at YouTube videos. You can go on Instagram. There's all kinds of information. Just Google Bikram, and when we're saying it, I want people to get the spelling of that. Okay. It's Bikram. Bikram yoga, but this is beyond just Bikram. Any type of yoga or exercise which encourages you to move your body, whatever that may be. Yoga may never be your thing, and that's perfectly okay. It's not about that. Walk. Do something, get on a treadmill, do some light weights, just a bit of cardio, just dance, just move, take your kid for a walk, go outside, throw a ball, do something. Preach, girl. Yes. Do something that works for you. And I am going to tell you, I may never be a smaller size, but let me tell you, I am thankful for where I am on this journey at this point in my life, that I'm where I am in terms of my health, and I enjoy life.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Lou.
I bailed you out when Teresa didn't have anybody to interview. But I hope you've enjoyed it. And as always, we wish you well.
We do. And as we always say here at Earrings Off, when we know better, we do better. Take care.